Scripture is pretty clear throughout about the importance of holiness and purity, and to be right in God's sight. But worldly thinking, very similar to what I showed on one of the other ones, do what seems good to you. But the higher standard for a follower of Jesus is to take a lot of care to protect what goes into your mind. Use the caution in what you do and what you see, what you listen to, so that you are protecting the purity of your heart or your mind. Of course, the heart refers to the mind in this case, and we need to take precautions to protect it. There's a lot of bad influences out there, for sure. So we need to watch carefully. Purity of heart has always been sought by those who seek to do God's will. Referring back to the Psalms again, always lots of good correlation with the Psalms and the Sermon on the Mount, I think. Psalm 24, verses 3 through 5. David wrote, "Who may ascend into the hill of the Lord, or who may stand in his holy place? He who has clean hands and a pure heart, who has not lifted up his soul to an idol, nor sworn deceitfully. He shall receive blessings from the Lord, and righteousness from the God of his salvation." So holiness and purity was very much commanded in the Old Testament, and Jesus commands it again in the New Testament. And in striving for purity, we're striving to follow his perfect example, in fact. Maybe it's helpful to remind ourselves frequently that God sees everything that we do. God sees our hearts. He saw the heart of David. Acts 13:22, he recognized that David was a man after his own heart. That's why he chose David to be king after Saul. Even though David made some mistakes, he had a repentant heart, a heart that was inclined to do what God wanted to do. So we need to be careful not to be concerned just with appearances, like the Pharisees, Matthew 23:25 through 27. But we need to recognize that God sees all things, even if no one else sees something that we do in secret. God sees it, and we need to protect our hearts. And for out of the good heart comes good fruit. Luke 6:43 through 45. Just like the good tree produces good fruit, the bad tree produces bad fruit. And purity is often connected with holiness, which is also required to see God. Hebrews 12:14. So purity of heart, very important for us to strive for. Again, not easy with all the negative influences that we see around us. Yes, sir. Mm-hmm. Yes. All right. Yep. Yep. Good. In case you didn't hear that, one of the attributes of a child that's commended is their innocence, and as well as their humility, really, another one that we've talked about. Something that we need to strive for, because as we get older, we have more influences in our lives, and it's hard. It becomes hard to be pure. And the blessing from this one, the pure in heart shall see God. What a great blessing that is. 2 Thessalonians 1:10. There's a place prepared for those who are faithful. And 1 Thessalonians 4:17. At the second coming of Christ, we'll rise up with those who are still alive to be with the Lord in the air. And thus we shall always be with the Lord. What a great blessing that is. Yes?
A great scripture to use when we talk about pure in heart is Philippians 4:8. Finally,
Very good. Let your mind dwell on these things. Fill your heart with these good things rather than letting the bad things that are out there in the world, in movies and books and music and all these sorts of things. Fill your mind with good things instead of those things. Very good. Thank you. Any other comments? Okay. Number 7, verse 9. Blessed are the peacemakers, for they shall be called sons of God. So this apparent paradox is a little bit of a stretch, but I feel like some of the Jews felt that those who desired rebellion against Rome thought that they should be esteemed highly, not those who promoted peace. Because they were expecting a physical kingdom, a lot of the Jews, rather than a spiritual kingdom that Christ brought. And they wanted to get rid of the Romans. And that would eventually happen, as we see later in history, but that wasn't the focus of Jesus in coming the first time. Worldly thinking, exert your strength. Might makes right. And the higher standard is to strive for peace. Strive to promote peace in our world, but also try to resolve personal differences is the idea here. Peace is desirable among brethren. Psalm 133, verse 1. How good and how pleasant it is for brethren to join together in unity, to dwell together in unity. And certainly that's true. I feel very comfortable here. I feel like we have very good unity here. I've been in some congregations where it wasn't quite so good, and it makes it less encouraging, I guess, to get together in fellowship, because there's just some strife underneath the surface, that people not getting along and that sort of thing. Jesus, of course, is very closely associated with peace. He was called the Prince of Peace, Isaiah 9:6. He was sent to bring peace among men, Luke 2:14. He is our peace, Ephesians 2:14. And he made peace through the blood of the cross, Colossians 1:20. So he's teaching his followers that we need to be strong and courageous, but at the same time we need to strive for peace. He also taught his followers to strive for peace. Paul taught his followers to strive for peace. Romans 12. I think we've referred to this chapter once or twice before already. But if we look at verses 17 and 18 of Romans 12, repay no one evil for evil. Have regard for good things in the sight of all men. If it is possible, as much as depends on you, live peaceably with all men. So it takes two to make peace. So we can't always have peace with everybody if the other side doesn't want it. But we can strive on our part to actively seek to resolve disputes. I think that's the idea. Yes?
Scripture there in Romans, and blessed are the peacemakers. I sometimes find that difficult to reconcile these three, to contend earnestly for the faith.
Uh-huh.
Sometimes I think we overdo each of those in our own way. Somehow we can balance.
Okay. Yeah. Those two words, contend and peace, sound opposite, don't they? So we need to keep focused on doctrinal things that are vital, critical, but try and be, while we're being firm, we're also being gentle and speaking the truth in love, I guess. Kind of a balance. Yes? Oh, I'm sorry. Did you have a follow-up?
And when we talk about marking false teachers and things, there are so many scriptures that we have to reconcile with this
Mm-hmm.
and make sure we have a balance.
Right. Yep, that's good.
And that we're doing God's will on both sides.
Right. Right. Yeah. That's right. Very good. So, very good. So I mentioned that Jesus is associated with peace, but he's also, in some cases, brings division. So it's sort of it's a balance for sure. Yes, very good. Any other comments on that one? Let's see. So Paul told followers of Jesus to strive for peace, but he condemned those who created division, as has been mentioned. Titus 3:9-11, 2 Timothy 2:24, 1 Timothy 6:4-5. I'll read that one. 1 Timothy 6:4-5. Kind of picking up in the middle of a thought, but he is proud, knowing nothing, but is obsessed with disputes and arguments over words, from which come envy, strife, reviling, evil suspicions, useless wranglings of men of corrupt minds and destitute of the truth, who suppose that godliness is a means of gain. From such withdraw yourself. So certainly we can't sacrifice doctrine, but we do need to have that balance. And even more important than striving for peace with one another is, as we've talked about before, is striving to teach others the gospel so that they can have peace with God. Because that's what we find in the gospel message. The gospel brings peace. One of the parts of the armor of God is to shod your feet with the preparation of gospel of peace. Ephesians 6:15. James 3:16-18. Where envy and self-seeking exist, confusion and every evil thing are there. But the wisdom that is from above is first pure, then peaceable, gentle, willing to yield, full of mercy and good fruits, without partiality and without hypocrisy. The fruit of righteousness is sown in peace by those who make peace. So when we teach others the word, we're allowing them to have peace with God. That's of high importance. And those who become who obey the gospel by being baptized for the forgiveness of sins, become at peace with God, 1 John 3:1. The blessing that's called out is be sons of God, and certainly that is a great blessing that's called out in many places in Scripture. And as sons of God, we would expect that one attribute we would have is to be peacemakers, because God is the God of peace, Romans 15:33. Yes, sir. Yeah. Yes.
But how do you keep it under control? I guess that's about all we can do. Because it's always going to be there. Or differences. If Jesus brought something different to the world,
All right.
that's going to be fine.
That's right.
So, it's complex.
It's complex. This call for being a peacemaker is complex for sure, because we can't compromise some things, but we need to work to strive to resolve disputes and strive especially to bring people to the gospel. Yes, sir.
I think we're caught up in this idea of peace. Let me explain what I mean. Of the people who are living in sin and hardly even know they are, because they've never seen the contrast of that. They don't know Christ.
Mm-hmm.
The peace that we're trying to help them, they're at war with themselves, for sure. And it's a self-fulfilling thing, so the devil is that way. The peace that we're trying to help them know does exist is in Christ.
Yep.
It's not between, but the moment they step out and into Christ, then the war with others begins, because they're saying, well,
Hmm.
has begun.
Right.
Never existed before. All right? So the peace has to be knowing within that you're right with God.
Mm-hmm.
That's the piece that we're trying to help people understand. That's a hard thing to explain.
It is.
But that's what we're trying to get people. Would you like to live at night at peace, knowing that regardless of what's happened in your life, that God is able to forgive you? Now, nobody else is, but they can remember everything.
Yep.
God can do it. God is God. He can forget. He can forget. He can. That's a godly trait.
Yep.
We don't have it. Most of us don't have it.
Right.
That is wrong. We can still remember that.
Right.
So, I mean, peace is a very big thing.
Yep. That's the peace that surpasses understanding, I guess, right? That's the peace that we want to have ourselves and to teach the gospel to others so that they can have it. All right, so we're out of time. We're going to leave off there. We'll cover the last beatitude, which is about persecution. The persecuted shall rejoice and be glad is the paradox on that one. So we'll talk about that actually in 3 weeks. I'm going to be out of town next week. Jonathan's teaching. And then we have a guest speaker the following week after that. So in 3 weeks, we'll pick up with the last